Segoline. I invited you to the interview to speak with you about the perfumery. And the first question is, how does it happen when you come and you became an evaluator and started to teach students about the raw materials? Can you tell the story, please?
My story is, I think that I always been interested in smell and fragrances in general, and I started the ISIPCA school, and after ISIPCA I became an evaluator because I really like to speak about fragrances. I think I was really interested in communicating on perfumes, and after that I had to leave. I had to move from another part of France, so I left my job of evaluator, and then I became a teacher. And when I came back in Paris, I became a teacher in ISIPCA.
Yeah, and you also told me that there is a difference between whom to be. I mean, the students from ISIPCA, while studying, it has to decide either to be an evaluator or a perfumer.
Actually, I think that it's kind of at the beginning, many students, they want to be a perfumer, and after a while they see that they are more interested in communicating and evaluating fragrances, and they are less interested in composition, fragrance composition. So they see at the end that maybe they would be more, their job would be more evaluating. But some students don't really decide at the end of the course. It depends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the majority decide quite quickly what they are going to do.
What is the difference then between evaluator and the perfumer?
The perfumer is really the compositor. It's really the people who create the perfume. He decides what he is going to put in his formula, and the evaluator is the people who makes the link between perfumer and the client. The client wants to launch a perfume, so he has kind of brief where he puts everything that he wants to launch his perfume, and the evaluator will understand what he wants, what he needs, what is the trend, what is the market, etc. And also the kind of product, if it's alcoholic or if it's a shampoo or something like that. And he will work with the perfumer to make the best perfume for the client. So it's kind of a link between these two, and also the evaluator is kind of managing the project on the perfume.
Yeah, so they all usually work together.
Yeah, they really work together. But one is really the compositor, the creator, and the evaluator is more managing and smelling with the perfumer.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yes.
Yeah, in my imagination it was a little bit different. And regarding the studying of raw materials, the next question: what is the most important to understand the raw materials? How do they smell? What is the difference between rose de mai or jasmine, sambac, or jasmine grandiflora?
Yeah, I think that is very important to. I mean, even if you're an evaluator, and if it's not really very important to know the difference between different roses, etc. It's important to have this culture and to learn very well all the raw materials. You have to make many links in your memory with many things that you know from your culture, from your childhood, from your life, your everyday life. So you have to make links, because these links will be really the way to remember the raw materials. They are very important, because we memorize the smell with many souvenirs and emotions. It's very important.
And regarding the transformation of smell, for example, one day you feel rose de mai like that, and another day you feel another way. Is it okay? What's happening with your
It's true that we can never say, okay, I know rose de mai absolute, I know it is like that, and I won't smell it anymore because I know it very well. Even the best perfumers, they always smell every time the raw materials, because they see that that sometimes they feel differently the raw materials, and also it can give some inspiration. It can give them ideas on some things. They can sometimes see new facets that they didn't notice before.
Yeah.
So very important to smell all your life, when you are a perfumer or evaluator.
But why do you think it happens when you at first you cannot smell like the cool story about this Rose de May, for example, and you day by day you start to find some aspects in it?
I think it depends on the emotion. Also, I think it depends on if you're tired or if you're in a good mood, or if maybe the day before you have smelled something which is rosy, and this time you smell it differently. Because I think every day we are a little bit different and we have different emotions in the day. So maybe we can really notice different things on the raw materials depending on our healthy way, health, or also mood, bad mood, good mood, depending.
Yeah, so it means that evaluators should be always in a good mood.
It's true that the evaluator has to be very objective. This is the target for an evaluator is to be objective and not to give any subjective idea. When you smell...
But how to be objective than subjective in this when you deal with the substance, with your emotions, personal emotions?
It's like you enter the client feet. Mm-hmm. You really go in the client brain, and you say, okay, the client wants that, the project is like that, the product will be like that, so I need this. So it's almost like you don't pay attention to your personal thinking. You are attention what the client is thinking and expecting, and also the market is expecting, because the client sometimes can be a little bit confused and not know exactly what he wants, or can be also on the wrong way. So you have maybe sometimes to help him to go on the right way.
Yeah. So the next question is about these pyramids, the marketing information about the perfume, because I noticed that sometimes it doesn't correspond, the pyramid, the ingredients, with what I smell inside the perfume. Why it is happening?
It's true, because when the perfumer is making a perfume, and when the perfume is ready and he's going to launch it, he creates a pyramid where he will put the main, the principal raw materials and notes that he has in his formula. But it also depends on what is expecting the client. If the client said that he wanted the perfumer to create a perfume about the smell of the water, so the perfumer will have to put on the pyramid something which has a link with this water expectation.
Like water lily, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Water lily, almost like ozonic notes, marine notes, something which is almost like lotus flower, which doesn't really smell, but the imagination that we have. And also the perfumer has to choose some raw materials. He cannot put everything, on the pyramid. So he chooses what materials he would put on the pyramid, and also this choice depends on what is expecting the client also. What is more marketing, more nice for the client and for the consumers.
Actually, I had an experience yesterday. I was discovering some pyramids from Kilian on different websites, and I noticed that are completely different from Russian website, from English website, etc. One perfume, but has different pyramids on different websites.
So I think it's really that what I said is that depending on the people who will buy the product,
with the target audience.
Yeah, the target audience. So the components will be chosen, differently, depending on the people. Because maybe some people are very interested in wood, and other people are interested in citrus, etc. I think it's because we know that when the people see the description of the perfume, he will smell the perfume differently if we don't put any description, and if he smells it like a blind, olfaction.
Yeah.
When you know what you are going to smell, you smell it differently.
But I also noticed that some perfume brands like Nazamata, he doesn't put anything in the pyramid in the description. Just try to guess what is inside.
I think that's good. That's good in this way, because I think that people has to feel something with the perfume, and if you give too many informations, you're just like trying to match to what is written in your mind, and it's not really a blind olfaction. You don't discover, you don't really feel on your own the things,
Yeah. So the next question is regarding the different perfumes, like there are niche brands and the luxury brands like Chanel, Dior, etc. What do you think is the difference in between the compositions of each fragrance?
Usually the niche brands, parfums d'exception, we say exceptional perfumes, they give more chance to the perfumers to create something without any panel test, without any. It's kind of a new way of creation. So the perfumers are very free to put everything that they want, and sometimes they use very expensive products. So I think that the target of this kind of perfumes is not to sell to many people. They want to sell to the people that are really interested in these perfumes. So that's why sometimes they are very specific, very strange perfumes, very creative perfumes, because they're kind of hidden, like word of mouth perfumes, and that's why sometimes also they are very expensive, because some raw materials are very expensive in them.
Yeah. And the next question is about raw materials and their affection. Is it difficult to to make higher your smelling, feel of smelling, to learn the raw materials? Is it difficult to learn the raw materials?
No, for me it's not difficult. You have to. It's something of a practice. The more you practice smelling, and the more you learn quickly, because you made some cases in your brain, some links, and the more you smell, the quickest it goes. But it's very important to have these links and these words that you will put on the specific smell. So because the word, when you give a word, it's much more easy to remember the smell, and also to listen to all the students. What did they say? What do you think of this raw material? And you, what do you think? So you can have many informations, like a brainstorming, and so these brings a lot of new ideas for you, and it's much more rich, for.
Yeah, like learning a new language, almost like.
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, I think it's much easier when you're several people, because you share many informations. But what is important is that your personal approach of the material is very important, because it is the way that you will remember it.
Yeah, and if someone tells, for example, you smell in a rose like that it is very fruity, but someone tells you, no, it's flowery, it's powdery, and if you take this approach, you will not
exactly.
remember this.
So it can be interesting to write it down, because it's a way of thinking that you didn't see, but so it can be interesting to make it, on the paper. But for you, it should be more your personal link to remember the fragrance. It's like your emotional link.
Yeah, and what does it give? This feeling of raw materials, this education of raw materials studying? What does it give?
For me, it's kind of. There is a little inconvenience. So, for example, if we smell a smoky atmosphere, you can really be disturbed because of that. So it's because you're very sensitive and you pay attention to all the smells everywhere, and even the bad smells. But I would say that it gives a lot of, for me, a lot of pleasure, sensorial positive way of life, because you really can smell everything everywhere, and even in Paris, even in Versailles, even, I mean, you can all the time smell something, you know.
It increases the quality of life.
Yeah, I think the quality of life, yes. And also it can, when you drink some wines and you eat some nice meals, you really have the feeling that you can identify many things, and you're very sensitive to all this smell in the wine, etc. And it's much better, you know, to know what you are eating, what you are drinking. It's much more pleasure when you know that.
Yeah. And do you have any favorite raw materials?
Yes. I have like almost like love at first sight with the iris butter that I really love, and also hedion. Hedion is a synthetic molecule that I really like. It's something, and these two are like my favorite ones.
Oh, that's nice. So thank you very much for the interview.
You're welcome, Valeria.
Yeah. So okay.
Thank you very much.